You're tuned in to the Event Gems podcast, the podcast where coaches, consultants, and speakers learn how to produce transformational and profitable events. I'm your host, Natasha Wright, Chief Experience Curator at the Diamond Butterfly. Join me and other industry experts as we teach you how to maximize the power of your next brand building event. Time to drop those gems. Let's fly. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Event Gems. Today we are joined by Linda Cain. Linda and her team at Events by BluDiamond are all about heart and relationship for the client and the attendee. They help their clients create, plan, and produce consistent 6- and 7-figure events with repeatable processes to maximize profits. Linda's mission is to help event hosts have engaging, profitable, and transformational events that keep them coming back for more. On a personal note, she loves tacos, boating, travel, and family time while raising her Pomeranians. Her husband and her family is the reason for having her business. So without further ado, let's welcome Linda to the Event Gems podcast. Hey, Linda.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. I am super excited for us to jump into this conversation, talk about, how listeners can learn how to produce more profitable and impactful events. But before we jump into the questions and, talking more about the strategy of the events, we're going to play our Insight Gems. So, Linda, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Let's go. So let me know what comes to mind when I list off these things, and whatever the first one is, just pop it on in there. All right. So fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
Oh, me too. Visual learner or verbal learner?
Visual.
Pep talk or motivational quote?
Ooh, pep talk.
Oh, okay. Introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
Oh, nice. I feel like I'm an introverted extrovert. That's how I like to classify myself. So, all right. So I hope you guys learned a little bit more about Linda. And I love, when you talk about what your mission is, but beyond that, like what you'd like to do outside of the business. I think it's important to have those moments where we relax and just like regenerate ourselves for what we have to do within our lives and our business. So I love that. So let's jump into it, Linda. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what type of services that you provide for your clients?
Oh, sure. So this is our 20th year.
Congratulations.
We're super excited. June marks our 20th year of working with transformational leaders, coaches, authors, speakers, small businesses, and we love it. Prior to that, the way that I got started in this is I was in my high school, I was working for a catering. I live here in California, and I was working for a caterer in Pasadena. And so we did a lot of things with the Rose Parade, golf tournaments, the local charities and businesses. And when my senior year of high school, I was working on a golf tournament that summer after graduation, and for one of Los Angeles's law firms.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did this golf tournament. It was in LA. We had 3 courses that we had all the clients of the firm go around to 3 different courses. So we had to like bus them to each course, and they did all kinds of crazy things on the courses besides just play a regular game of golf. We had little extra games that they had to do and trivia that they had to do at each hole. So It was like this whole big thing. And there was an awards ceremony that night. So after that was over, a couple weeks later, I was already signed up to go down to San Diego for school. I was for college. I was, had my plan. And a couple weeks after this golf tournament, I got this phone call from the managing partner of the firm, asked me to come in for an interview. So then I put college on hold and went to work for the law firm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was like the dream job. So I was part of their new marketing development section, and one of the jobs that I had was looking at doing events and taking care of their clients and what kind of things that we could do for the clients of the firm. So I ended up staying there for about 10 years, and we organized the Los Angeles Intellectual Property Law Association, a trade association for lawyers that practice trademark patents. And we did a lot of programs and conferences with them. I was the executive director of programs. And then we also formed the Swiss American Chamber of Commerce. I was the executive director actually up until 2018 for that association. And then they retired the chamber, and so it's no more, but it was a fun run. We also ran the Southern California Mediation Association and the Center for Dispute Resolution. So my background in events is vast. I have fundraising, trade associations, as well as just, events, seminars, workshops, master classes. We were doing all of that with them. So then I fast forward, I was at an event in 2003 and I met Adam Urbanski. Some of you may know him, the marketing mentor out of Irvine. He's fabulous coach, mentor, and does a lot of programming with people on how to kind of increase and 10x your profits by very simple ways of doing your business, whatever your business is. And I met him in the back of the room at an event. He hired me on the spot to do an event for him. So then I went back to the
Amazing.
firm. I know.
Wow.
I went back to, and it was so funny because let me tell you. So he said, "How much would it cost for you to do an event for me?" Now, this is 2003. I'd never done an event for a coach before. I had no clue what entrepreneurial world was like.
Right.
I was a corporate gal, and I was like, I threw out a number, and he goes, "Awesome, you're hired." And I thought,
no way, that's an amazing story. You're like, well, let's go.
That was too low. But anyway, so we ended up, I went back, I gave my notice to the firm. I decided in that moment that that was my opportunity to start my own business. I went back, I retained the firm and some of the projects that I had at the firm. I contracted and retained those as part of my new company. And so, like I said, the chamber, we worked with the chamber up until 2018 and a couple of the other associations, well into, 2015, 16, while I was doing my, and growing our coaching side of our business. But it was so much fun. So I did his event. And one of the things back then when he was doing his Attract Client Like Crazy program, one of the things that we worked in was anybody that did that program and they wanted to do an event, they got our services. Our services were wrapped into his package. So it made it really nice. And that's a tip for everyone, because if you have somebody that you can joint venture with and you can wrap your services into their package, it'll really help you grow and get visibility very fast. So there's a little tip for everyone.
I love that.
Yeah. So, and it was great. So we did that. And then the rest is just history. We, by word of mouth, by people experiencing our services, we've grown into the business that we are today. And the services that we provide, we do full event done with you programs. So whether you're doing a 3-day enrollment course or whether you're doing a workshop or a masterclass series, we work with our clients. We work with you virtually. We work with you in person. And we love doing retreats. So if you like to put together retreats, small group retreats, or small events, we love those the best. People have the biggest transformation in those environments.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just love your story of how you became an entrepreneur. It was almost like it was totally unexpected, but I love the fact that you jumped at the opportunity to do it. I'm curious to know, did you already have the idea in your mind that you might want to start your own business and then this opportunity appeared, or the opportunity appeared and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to dive off into the deep end and see what comes of it?
No, I didn't even, I mean, obviously I knew what an entrepreneur was, but I knew nothing of the coaching industry at all. I had just gotten back from getting my business etiquette and international protocol certification at the Washington, D.C. School of Protocol. And that was something that I was going to be doing for the firm. And it was a training that really benefited me because we had so many international clients, and I wanted to learn more and do more with our international clients. So I just come back from that training. And at that training, I had met a couple ladies that were coaches, and I had just a glimpse into, wow, they work with people one on one. They have small groups. They're working on their own. How exciting is that? So that seed had been planted. But
Mhm.
no, I loved my firm. I had been there 10 years. I had a lot of things and opportunities within the company that I was doing. We had an amazing crew that we were working together. My best friend and I was worked with me. So, we rode the bus to work and rode the bus home from work. And we just, it was awesome. And I saw myself being there for a very long time. But standing in the back of the room and watching this was back in the old days when they had what they called speaker fest.
Mhm.
So like the first speaker on day one would start out with a $47 offer. Then it would go to a $97 offer. Then the next speaker would be 127 and then 197. And then you got to day three. And of course, the last speaker of the day had the biggest package. And it happened to be Bob Proctor, and he was offering a $5,000 package at the end of day three. And the whole room was like,
Love him.
$5,000 to coach with someone? Are they crazy?
Compared to now where it's like 25,
Yeah.
50,000 and up,
So,
you know?
yeah, well, I think before Bob passed, it was like 100K to get that
Mm.
one-on-one coaching with him, but he did have like a group package for 35. But yeah, so I was standing in the back of the room, and it just, having this conversation with Adam, and he's like, and I thought, well, shoot, I could do his event because I had all this time that I had vacation time, and I'll just take my vacation time, go work on his event. That was my first thought. And then as we were talking and he was telling me more and more about the clients that he served and what he did and his story, I just was like, I want my own business. And so
Ah.
I came home, told my husband, I go, I'm quitting the firm this week and I'm gonna start my own business. And my
What was
family
his
was like,
reaction?
I'm the most supportive husband in the world. And
Ah, that's
like,
good.
he's like, yeah, do it. Sounds good. And so I had a little office for a while outside the home in Pasadena, which is kind of a halfway point for me to downtown LA. And I had a little office there for a while at the catering company that I had originally worked with. But then maybe a year of that, I decided, I can work from home. So I worked from home, and I hired my first employee was a gal, Lisa Benavides, who's still with me. And I went to one of those workplaces that like when you go to the high school and you share your job, like a work day. And so I asked if anybody in the room was interested in learning about events or working in events. And this gal raised her hand, and she was all in her little cheerleader outfit, and which warmed my heart because I was an ex cheerleader. And so we talked a little bit after the class, and then a couple weeks later we got together. We interviewed her. So when she graduated high school, I hired her. And so she's been with me now for 20 years this summer. So we were just talking about it the other day about how, we went and got our event certification together for our industry. We drove to San Diego for like every Saturday for 6 months and did training and got our certification because I felt that that was important. It's not needed anymore, but I highly recommend people, if you are, whatever you're doing, if you're a coach, if you're a planner, if whatever you're working in and you're doing, if there's a certification in the industry for you, go get it. It will give you more tools to work with. It helps to round you out. It gets you connected for other people that are in your industry. And it just feels good to keep that education going. And, I always highly recommend that everyone work with a mentor. I have had different mentors over the course of 20 years in this space. I've had a business mentor. I've had a coach just on my business itself, like my products and my services. I've had a leader. I'm going through a leadership course right now so that I can expand our team even further. And so, yeah, just always have somebody that you can anchor to. either a paid mentor or an advisor or someone that you can anchor to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's great. And especially just what you talked about with the certification is really having that foundation,
Mhm.
outside of what you might be learning on the job, right?
Yeah.
So I think just to even have like best practices, I think is super important. So I love when you talked about you started working with the law firm. One of the reasons why they wanted to bring you on board is to use events as a marketing tool.
Right.
So can we talk a little bit more about,
Mhm.
you said that the number one thing, events are the number one things for you to build that connection. So can you talk about the power of events and how that's the number one tool to help you build connection with your audience or attendees?
Yes, absolutely. So you hear it all the time, that events are the number one way to grow your business, get profits. But what people don't realize is they think that they have to have a huge list, they have to have a lot of money, they have to have a big budget. Most people that I talk with, they don't think that they can have a planner, that comes later when they're ready to do their big 3-day event. But what's really cool about this business and the reason that events are so powerful is most of you probably have a one-on-one coaching program that you're doing or a one-on-one connection of services where you are talking to somebody one-on-one about your services. So what you do is you take those people one-on-one, create a group of 10 people, bring them together as a group, and then they get to mastermind. So for example, you can bring 10 people together in a suite at a hotel for a weekend or a small meeting room, in a work center or in your home even. I've had clients that have done this in their home. And you bring people together and you can charge anywhere from $997 for the weekend up to $3,000 for the weekend. Bring them in, workshop them in your modality, your processes, and then make an offer for that one-on-one that you might be doing. Make that your offer to them to continue to work for another 6 months or a year with them on the one-on-one. So now what you've done is every quarter you can do that, and every quarter you can, or even every month. I've got clients that do this every month. But what that does is now you're doing a group of 10, getting 3 or 4 that'll work with you at a higher price one-on-one, do another group of 10, another 3 or 4. And within a year, you can take what normally my clients, if they're making like 25, 30,000 a year, they can be pushing the 6 figure 125K at the end of the year by just doing this one simple process of taking your one-on-ones and creating a group. So those are the kinds of things that I do with clients to show how powerful events can be. And then
Mhm.
now magnify that out. You've got 50 people in a room and you're selling your high ticket and you've brought them in for 497, 997 into a room. You've already got a profit margin before your doors are even open for your high ticket offer. And then you can enroll 5 or 6 into your high ticket offer from there and repeat that. And you can repeat that twice a year and pretty much handle, a group of 10 to 20 ladies, men in your coaching program for the year. So that's
Yeah.
another small way to get started that's very affordable. You can do these virtually or in person, just depending on your style and your budget and what you're willing to spend. Then you can sprinkle in on top of that sponsors, guest speakers. Some of your speakers can pay for a place, pay to play. Sponsors can give you a little bit of money or a lot of money, depending on what you're doing, and it can just grow from there. So it's really cool because people don't realize they can start small and still have powerful experiences, powerful events, and grow their list, grow their influence. And before you know it, you can grow it to what you want. And I have clients they just, do one event a year. Everything
Mhm.
they do sells to that event. And they enroll 10 to 12 people into their 25K a year. And that's their life. They love it. They don't want to make $1 million, but they've got this beautiful life. It
Yeah.
fulfills what they're doing. They're able to work on other products and services. And so it really depends on what you want to create. So what we do here now at BluDiamond is one of the ways that I work with clients is we map out your event driven business. So what does an event process look like and an event map look like you for the whole year? Are you going to do master classes? Are you going to sprinkle in retreats? Are you going to do a 3-day enrollment program? What is the, what resonates with you? What do you love doing? And then we map that out in 90-day increments so that all roads lead to whatever high ticket offer that you have.
So I said, I love that you talked about, incrementally leading up to something larger if you choose to, because I think a lot of times people, when they vision doing an event, it has to be this huge, large scale thing, right?
Yeah.
And not necessarily taking into account what you talked about with those smaller workshops of having 10 people at a higher price point and then leading them into your program that you might have, that can also be a process or a formula for you to be able to earn that 6 or 7 figures for the year. So I think that that's important for us to talk about. And I love that you mentioned that. So then at what point from that, or I guess it might depend on what your business model is then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, like I said, a lot of coaches or consultants or service providers that might want to put on their own events, they're thinking about this huge 3-day event or 1-day event. Do you feel like there is a proper process or step to go from a small workshop to a larger event? What are some of the things that people need to be looking out for before they make that jump or that step?
Okay, so so if you're someone who is doing a lot of 1-day workshops and you want to expand into doing a 3-day program, one, you have to decide if it's right for you to do a virtual event or if you want to do an in-person event, because the price differences are going to be different for you because you're going to have location costs. So depending on your tickets and your audience and how you can fill that room would depend on whether or not you picked a virtual or a live event. But the process of going from a 1-day workshop to a 3-day event, whether it's virtual or in person, it's easy actually, because the content that you have discussed and done in the 1-day workshop, you're going to expand on that in your 3-day event. And then you're going to add to it experiences. So a cocktail reception or a gathering, network gathering of some kind. You might do an excursion off site. Could be a hike. It could be a yacht experience. It could be a museum, anything, a winery, anything that you can think of to add an experience. It can be even bringing in a yoga person or an exercise person to kick off, a dance person to kick off the day. And a lot of these experiences can be replicated in the virtual space if you choose to do a virtual event. When COVID hit, one of the things that we did with one of our clients is they were supposed to do a winery tour on site. And because we took the event virtual, we had in the evening, we mailed out everybody 3 different kinds of little bottles of wine. And we mailed that to their home with some crackers and cheese. And then
I love that.
yeah, it was awesome. And then the vineyard guy wore a GoPro on his forehead. And so he took a walk through the vineyard, talked about the grapes, held the grapes up, to the camera, asked people to, follow along, ask questions. So people were asking questions. We gave them live mic options so that they could ask their questions right from the Zoom room. And then when he came back into the vineyard and he was behind the counter, he had the 3 types of wine set up on his counter, and he walked through the process of, pouring the wine in your glass, swirling it, and doing everything just like if you were going to be there, and the audience saw it through his GoPro. So it was like
Love
seeing
it.
it with his eyes. And then, he'd hold his glass up to the camera and cheer everybody. And then, yeah, so it was really cool. It was really unique. But thinking about going from 1-day to 3-day, you're just going to expand out your teaching points. You're probably already over giving in the 1-day and not finishing everything. That's typically what I see. Is people are like, we're just out of time for this, or maybe they continue one section to another section and then they never get to session 3 because they're still in session 2. So knowing that you have the opportunity to really expand out your training and your teaching and sprinkle in those different experiential elements into your 3 days, basically what you're doing. And basically that's the simple methodology. And then from there, you want to look at your offer and what it is that you're going to offer. If you're doing a high ticket offer, a 3-day is awesome because it allows you on day one to really connect, get to know your audience, have them get to know each other by doing networking opportunities. And then day two in the afternoon is when you present your offer. So you've had this whole day and a half to get to know your audience. They've gotten to know you. They've experienced some of your training. I encourage clients to really do some worksheets or putting people together so they can talk about the experience and share and build that community. And then when you make your offer, then you've already got this audience. Even if people are brand new to you, they've had a chance to experience you. So they're going to be more interested in hearing what you have and how you can work with them going forward. And then the morning of day three, then you again do a repitch, go right back into some content and training. That's a perfect time after that, after the first break, to have a guest speaker and then round out, the rest of your day and closing out your offer.
I love that. I think that that is such a thorough way of looking at it. And really, I love what you talked about, just building that connection with your audience, but also having the audience build connections with each other and how that facilitates them taking that next step forward to work with you, right? So
Yeah,
can you
because you're going to sit there with somebody next to you and like, oh wow, this looks like I love this experience. Did you just not get so much out of that? Yes, I did. Oh, she's
Mhm.
amazing. He's amazing. And then the offer comes and everybody's like, oh, I want to do this. I do too. And people can get creative. I've even seen where at events where people have literally have formed a connection and one person has no problem putting the down, buying the offer. They know they're going to do it. The
Mhm.
other person wants it, but might be a little tight on the deposit or not quite sure. And I have actually witnessed and watched somebody turn to someone and say, I'll give you the down.
Oh, wow. That's
I'll give you the
powerful.
down.
That's powerful.
And it's like, and that comes from the host being
Yeah,
open, being, fully
generous.
vested and fully generous in their audience.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That's a great point because to even think that someone would do that for someone that they probably have never met or just
Mhm.
met over that weekend, I think that shows the type of environment that's created for
That you
sure.
can create, absolutely. And
Yeah, yeah.
there are means too. There's a lot of programs out now. There's a lot of scholarships out now. There's a lot of ways to, get the deposit if you don't have the deposit that you can do. And so, that's an encourager for people as well. And then, like I said, sometimes there's people in the audience that are, you don't know who's sitting next to you and what they may have to offer.
You mentioned that bringing in a guest speaker on day 3. What
Mhm.
are what are your thoughts on bringing in guest speakers and at what points do you know is the right point to have that guest speaker on during your 3-day event?
So typically, and this has kind of been proven by, people that have come before us. They've kind of proven this 3-day enrollment model.
Mhm.
And day one is what they call, in the industry, we refer to it as the wallet opener. It's a speaker that's motivational, has something that you have determined the audience needs, that is something that you probably don't provide for your audience. And so you invite somebody in and they can typically make an offer anywhere from 197 to 497, 997 at the max, depending on what your offer is, but somewhere around that $500 mark and to 997. And then there's a whole nother conversation to be had about splitting revenue, how much people pay for the stage and all of that. So that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But just know that those are options that you can have. So your day one speaker needs to be something that you don't have that is very motivational, that gets people to want that they open up their wallet. So now money is in the room, it's energetically flowing. So then on day two, you make your offer. Nobody speaks except for you on day two, other than any panel that you have that's experts or people that you coach that give testimonials for you. Day two is all about you, what you're bringing to the table, what you're going to be able to, how you can help people, and you show them all of that. And then you make an offer. Day 3 then gives you the opportunity to have another guest speaker, typically after lunch. And that can be anything. It can be somebody that's just, has a service that you want your audience to have. It could be, a high level person that in the industry that can come in, and we call this the swoop offer, swoop, because they come in and their offer is to anybody that didn't buy your services or didn't get something from the first speaker. Then this gives them the opportunity to do a lower cash item, 197 to 497, and leave with something that they can take away that's going to be useful for them in whatever they're going to be doing after the event. And likewise, the host is also going to typically have a downsell that you do at the very end of the day. And sometimes, if you remember what I was talking about earlier about how you can combine your offer with someone,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes hosts will combine either the first day speaker or the third day speaker's offer in whatever downsell they have at the end of the day. So let's say you're selling a year-long coaching program for $25K, and you also have a 8-week course, and your 8-week course takes them through a process, and then at the end of that 8-week course they do it on their own. Maybe there's a couple little bonus coaching opportunities like open office hours sprinkled in that. So if as they're working through the 8 weeks, if they need help, they can pop in once or twice and get some help. But maybe your third day speaker, let's say you were selling whatever, but you knew that your audience needed to know how to do video or how to do social media reels or social media advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, at the end of your downsell, could be your 8-week course, and you could say, as a bonus, if you buy my, $14.97 course, we're going to bonus in Caro's video, how to be camera ready, or how to be, social media savvy. And you can bundle that in, so then they get that third day offer.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I think that is so powerful. And I love that you talked about the collaboration piece of it too. It's not just about, the event host, but there's also possibilities or ways that you can collaborate to make a bigger impact for your attendees. So one of the things that I notice with events is that you have the idea, you have the vision, you have the concept, you want to do this thing, but then there's a gap in between from the concept or the vision to and the execution. And that little piece right in the middle is the marketing piece of it, right? And that's where, that gap sometimes needs to be filled. So can you talk about how do event hosts, go about filling the room or getting the butts in the seat, as they say? What are some key things that they need to be mindful of, or things that they need to avoid doing?
Okay. There's a lot there.
Yes.
We could talk about that for days.
Okay.
But typically what you want to do is have a marketing map. So if you are, that's what I was saying about the stacking, using the stack method of starting small, building your audience, and then stacking in your next event. So like going from, a small group to 1-day workshops to, eventually getting to your 3-day. And some people are just ready to dive right into the 3-day event, which is fine. But it is all about putting butts in the seats. So one thing that I recommend is starting out, even if you have your eyes on a 3-day event and you want to bring 200, 300 people in, package it and start it off in the sense that you want to have, how many people do you need to be in the room to do your sales conversion to get the goal that you want. So and work backwards from there. That way you don't have all the stress of, I have to put 20 people, 200 people in the room. Maybe you only need 50 solid people in the room. And the way that you're going to get those people in the room is by using an assessment that you mail out to your list. Like, hey, take this free assessment and we're going to identify where your need is. And they don't know that, but that's what the assessment does for you as a host. It allows you to know where your audience is and what they need. Then you can tailor your program to that need. That's one way of helping to bring in extra people to the room and bringing in the right people to the room. The other is doing master classes and webinars, speaking on other people's stages, speaking for free, speaking for, on stages, speaking for money, any way that you can speak to get yourself out there, what you're talking about, and invite people into your community and invite people to your event. Doing Facebook and Instagram lives, being consistent in putting yourself out there, and
Yeah.
which we all struggle with.
I know. I was just going to say that. I think that that's
Yeah,
exactly it, right? Where a lot of people, they get stopped because they don't want to show up online. They don't want to do lives or, that
yeah,
visibility portion of it. So I totally
yeah,
get it. Yeah.
yeah. So look at other ways, people that can mail for you. Again, those joint venture partnerships. Maybe bringing in somebody who was a mentor of yours or someone that has a bigger list that has your ideal client in it, and do a collaboration so they get some time and they can teach and make a small offer, and then you can teach and make your offer. So collaborations are really good. One thing to keep in mind too about filling the seats is I'm a big proponent of no free events, even if you're doing a virtual event online, no free events.
Oh,
Have
wow.
them.
That's a unique perspective for sure.
Your time is valuable.
Yeah.
And yes, what you should do for free is master classes, webinars, little 90-minute training sessions, social media free. All of that should be free. But when you're
Mhm.
going to do a one-day workshop, or you're going to do a 3-day enrollment event, there's a lot of time and energy that you're going to put into bringing those people in. So you should at least charge $97 for that time, and have them put skin in the game, is what they like to say. Put
Yes,
some money
that's a
out.
good point. Yes.
Put some
Mhm.
money out, and the other thing that I recommend clients not do not make getting the recording part of your package. Not at all. There is no recording offered. You come live virtually or you come live in person. Be with me. I
Mhm.
want to get to know you. I want you to get to know me. We want to build a relationship. I want to teach you what I know that's going to help you. I want to hear from you what you need so I can provide it to you. You're not going to get my recordings. Now, after the event, I may bundle my recordings into a downsell. I may bundle my recordings into even doing an encore event. And come hear me. I'm going to show some excerpts of my event in an encore, and I'll be there live to answer questions. You're going to watch, this session, and then I'm going to talk about it. That's when they get that's when they get the recordings. Because what we're seeing is, and this is a weird phenomena, but
Mhm.
what we're seeing right now is people are buying programs, people are buying event seats, they're buying seats, and they're not showing up.
It's true.
We had an event last September where the ticket to get into the event was $2,500. This was a workshop style walk out with your business in a box, and it was $2,500. We had the client had 48 enrollments. We wanted 50. She had 48 enrollments. She's already making bank before the event started, and only 32 people showed up in the room.
Wow.
One person got waylaid by their flight. One person had a child that got sick. One person had a parent that blah, blah. One person had a this. And it was weird, strange excuses. One gal had 3 different delays in her flight, actually landed in San Diego, got off the plane and said, I want the first flight home. I'm not even going to go to this event. I just
Oh
want
my
to go home.
goodness.
She was so burned out from travel. She couldn't even
She
get herself
decided I'm not going to come.
to the hotel.
But at $2,500, it's not chump change. You know what I mean? So
No,
you would
no.
think people would show
And
up for
that's
that.
yeah, and that's an unusual event, and that was the first time that I saw it in a big way in September, and the host and I talked about it.
Mhm.
And do you know that she, out of those 32 people, she had 14 people buy her 25K year-long program,
Wow.
because she gave and she spent time with them, and they got what they came for, and they wanted
Mhm.
to continue with her. Now, that's a phenomenon event. It doesn't always happen that way, but the point of not doing a free event and charging for your event is the point of the story.
Mm-hmm.
is, you have value, you want to place the value on that. There are times and places that we do free, but there's times and places where we charge. And I'm seeing people, like, they'll sign. I've done it myself. I've signed up, I bought the VIP package thinking that, oh, I really want to watch this, program.
Or you're gonna go
And
back to it. Yeah. Never do. I had to make a list. I had to make a list of all the things that I've bought and said I'm gonna go back to it, and I haven't. And I was like, this is the year.
do
I'm
that
gonna make sure I go through it.
do that exercise, and I can guarantee you won't buy anything unless you can attend,
It's true.
because you already have this repertoire of stuff that you've already bought that you need to go back and look at.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and one of the things to be, and yeah, I'm not saying you can't buy other people's things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying be very cautious about it, because if you're an event host, don't give up those recordings so free. Make people come be with you. Have them, let them know that they're not going to automatically get these recordings. We tracked some of our clients over the last 6 months, and we saw that out of out of about 3,000 people in the last 6 months that had the opportunity to get their eyes on an event and they were given the recordings, I would say that under 100 actually opened them
Mm,
and
yeah.
watched them all the way through. Some people pulled out one speaker and watched that. Some people pulled out a couple things and watched it. But to sit and watch the 3 days all the way through, if 100 people did it, 100, it was, if that.
Yeah, that's a really good
And
point.
And so, so hold those recordings back as leverage, if you would, or as a
Mhm.
bonus, if you would. You can also chunk them down into future talking opportunities and training opportunities that gives you content to put out then to draw people in for the next event that you're doing.
I think that there's definitely a benefit to showing up live. I
Mhm,
feel that whenever I show up live, even if it's a virtual event, then I get a chance to get a sense of the event host and ask
mhm,
questions, and so you're a lot more engaged
mhm.
as opposed to you watching the replay
Yeah,
later on. So it's
yeah.
a benefit both ways.
And that
I love
comes
that.
to the point that you were asking about filling the room.
Hmm.
Because if people know they're not gonna get those recordings, then they know they have to show up, then you're gonna have the right people coming to you in your room.
Mm. Love it. Love it. Okay.
Mhm,
So let's talk about the hybrid events. And this is the final question of the interview. So now we've done our workshops led up to our 3-day event. And so let's talk about at what point do you know when you should do a hybrid event? Because it's almost like two different productions, right?
it
Paying
is.
for the in person, and you're also paying for the virtual portion of it. And I think especially with COVID, people expect a lot more from the virtual portion of the events. So at what point do we know when to convert to or integrate a hybrid or virtual option to our live event?
So a hybrid event is definitely you're running 2 productions. So you have the in-person production and you're running the virtual production. A lot of people out there they have their 3-day event that they're doing, and they're running, like, doing it in person, and then they're running a live stream out to people. That's
Mhm.
going to, again, affect your numbers in the room. So if your goal is to do a live event and have people be with you in the room, don't offer the hybrid option. The hybrid works really well. What I've seen so far. The hybrid works really well for 2 options. The first option is you have a strong international audience, or you're an international leader who has a strong US, Canada, North America audience. And so the timing is so off that running the hybrid is a good thing. And that's the audience you would sell the virtual to, would be your international audience. So if you're my event host and you're here in America and we're doing your in-person event, we would offer the virtual to your international clients that you have, and offer them the option to get the recordings so that they could then be connected to what's happening in the room here. The other, so looking at your audience and whether it makes sense. The other way that I see the hybrid really working is the people in the room with you are your VIPs and your general audience is virtual. So if you have a VIP ticket, you get to come and be with the host. And then there's other activities that are taking place on site as part of that VIP package. So you make a really robust, God, I've got to be, at this event because to be with so and so. And in the general audience then there's a ticket for it, but the general audience then is streamed into the event.
That makes perfect sense. Well, thank you so much, Linda. This was a very rich conversation filled with gems, and I really appreciate you being here with us today. But before you go, is there one last gem you'd like to leave with the audience, something that we haven't spoken about or something completely unrelated to events that you'd like to leave?
Oh my gosh. I guess the best thing that I can tell you is that if you feel at all, like if you have the least tiniest little bit of a dream of doing an event, whether it's a 1-day event or a 3-day event, whether it's virtual or live, whether you want to take a group of people with you to Scotland because you've always wanted to go there and you want to create a retreat environment and go off to the castle together. Whatever that little dream is that you have or big dream, I would just encourage you to take that step forward and do it, because right now is the perfect time to start building that event part of your business and having those connections with people and having more intimate relationships, because most of what we're doing these days is virtual and it's great, but to really get in person and have those in-person connections is where the power of events really comes into play.
I love it. I love it. Again, Linda, thank you so much for being here with us on Event Gems. If you guys like this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to the Event Gems podcast. Until next time, I hope you caught those gems now. Let's fly.